I'm going to show you how I made a card that I think turned out really pretty with the Perfectly Pears stamp set bundle. This is one of the new bundles from the online exclusives that went live. I should say newer, it's not brand new anymore, but newer bundles. Hold on, I'm going to scoot the camera down here just a little bit. Newer bundles from the online exclusives. So it's one of those, oops, sorry, moving things around still. But it's one of those that's really pretty, and it's a part of a suite. Hey, Sally, thanks for hopping in. Part of a suite, and yeah, I think I used every piece of the suite and then some on this card. So again, this is from the online exclusives, and it's one of those bundles that's just really pretty. And I don't know why I do love the pears. So there. Hey, Judy, thanks for joining. Glad you're here today. So this is a card we're making. It's pretty quick and easy. Just a little, you can kind of see the two-tone color on the pears, and I'm going to show you how I did that. It's really easy. There are a couple different ways you can do it, but this is the way that I have found that's easiest. So I'll show you how I did it in the video. So hey, Carol, thanks for joining today. So this is the Perfectly Pears stamp set. It is photopolymer, so it's one of those that's quick and easy to use. You can see through it, and you can stamp really easily with it. There are fill-in images here. Obviously, they coordinate together, and so yeah, just stamp the lined image, stamp the fill-in image, and your Perfectly Pears are done. And with a little die cutting and all good to go. There's a little splatter image here, and these, it's a little group of 3, but they actually are the flower centers for those flowers. So if you stamp them, they stamp perfectly over the top of those flower images. And then there's some great sentiments in it as well. So hey, Karen and Amy and Marva, and thanks. I'm glad to be back. So we had a nice weekend with my parents, and my daughter and I went, and like I said, just kind of had a good time. And it was busy, you know, lots of family stuff going on, but always crazy at my house. I'm from a family of 6 kids, and when you get everybody together, it's just a little wild. So, hey, Danette, thanks for joining. All right, so this is the Perfectly Pears dies. And again, they coordinate your open images here are the ones that will cut out your stamped pears and flowers. And then these 2 will cut out a couple of the sentiments. Not everyone. This A Good Friend is a Gift sentiment is the one that I used today. And that one actually doesn't fit in here, but all the others will fit within one of these little dies here. And then there are a couple of accessory dies. This one is a really pretty die cut kind of branch, and then we've got little flowers. These will cut out individual flowers. This one cuts out your little background piece, and then this one cuts out a grouping of flowers. So you can kind of, it's a great die set too. All right, one other thing that I did use, I controlled myself but not really. It's the Party Banners dies. I used a couple of these, and I'm trying to remember which ones exactly I used for which. So this one is the one that I used for the basic white die cut, and it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the center. And then the 7th from the center is the one that I used to cut out the layering panel, which is the Mossy Meadow on my card. So 6th from the center, 7th from the center, if that helps you figure out which one it is. Otherwise, just pick whatever ones you want, because, you know, it all looks good. So again, those are the Party Banners dies, and all of this is online exclusives that you'll be able to find in the Stampin' Up! Online store. All right. Speaking of the online exclusives, don't forget anytime you are out shopping to take a peek at those online exclusives. You can find them by going to StampinUp.com, then clicking on the menu button on the upper left, and then clicking on the online exclusives little round button there in the menu. And there are pages and pages of things. This is a very, very small sampling of what's available out there right now. But there are lots of things, and they kind of come and go. So just make sure that you're checking. Again, all this awesome stuff that I'm using today is from the online exclusives. So just make sure you're checking anytime you're out there, so you don't miss out on some of the good stuff. So, hey, Kim, thanks for hopping in. Glad you're here. All right. This is a panel or a card base that is petal pink. And this card you could do with either a standard card base if you prefer the bookfold ones. So you could have an 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4 down the left side if you prefer that. I just didn't happen to have a card base cut and ready to go. I had a top fold one, which is my preferred card base. So, but that's the bonus of card making. You get to do what you want with it. So this card base is petal pink again, and it is 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5.5 right here across the top. So, hey, Gina Marie, thanks for hopping in. Then I've got a piece of Painterly Pears Designer Series paper. Again, this is all part of that same suite. You can buy the pieces individually. You don't have to buy it all together, but it is part of the same suite. And, you know, honestly, you're just going to want it all. So you might as well just go get the sweet and then you won't be sad. This is cut to about 2 3/4 by 5.5 inches. And all the measurements and stuff will be on my blog tomorrow. I'll post a link to the blog post with the details, a printable PDF tutorial, all that good stuff will be out on my blog tomorrow, which is Wednesday, around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time, and I'll link directly to it in the description of the video once it goes live. All right, I'm just going to adhere this on, try to get it on here straight, and using a little Stampin' Seal. And there is like no precise, I don't know, it's probably about 1/4 inch over, but I didn't really measure it. I just put it on there until it looked good to me and then left it at that. So, all right, I've done a little die cutting ahead of time. So I did cut these with the Party Banners dies. I'll bring those back in. Again, it is the 6th from the center and the 7th from the center that I used to cut them. 6th from the center is the one that I used for the basic white, and then 7th is the one that I used for the Mossy Meadow panel here. And we're going to stamp on the basic white panel. We're going to use the Sentiment and a little Mossy Meadow ink. And I've got the A Good Friend is a Gift Sentiment. So we're going to take that, open it up. Again, Mossy Meadow ink. I don't know if I said that already. I probably did. I'm repeating myself. All right, going to stick a little sentiment here on the upper right side of this banner. There we go. And then we're going to adhere the two banners together with a little Stampin' Seal. So we flew in last night. It was a little entertaining. There was quite the storm that went through New Jersey last night. There was some flooding and such. We were delayed. We got it loaded up into the airplane. We're delayed for an hour and a half sitting on the tarmac in Chicago as we were trying to leave. And then we got here to Newark, and they would not pull us up to a gate because there was lightning in the area. And apparently Newark has some rule that if there's lightning, they have to wait for 10 minutes between the last lightning strike and when they'll start to unload people from planes and use their ramp crew, I think is what they called it. I don't know that much about flying, but so we arrived at about 4:30 yesterday afternoon, and we finally got unloaded from the airplane at 10 o'clock last night. So we sat out on the tarmac in New Jersey, sweating, saying some bad words under my breath. I didn't yell at anybody, which I was kind of amazed by myself. But there's really nothing anybody could do. So yelling didn't help. But anyway, so yeah, sat out there and yeah, till 10 o'clock last night. So that was a lot of fun. But we made it in, so we're all good. All right, I've got a piece of, I probably didn't say what I was doing because I was busy yakking. So I adhere these together with Stampin' Seal and then adhere them to the card front with Stampin' Dimensionals. And I've got a little bit of the Mossy Meadow and Gold trim. It's 1/4 inch wide and it's really pretty. And again, it's part of the suite. So I'm going to use a little bit of Stampin' Seal and we're just going to put it on here. Whoop, let's get down there in a couple of places where I know it's going to be hidden by the pears. There we go. All right, it was kind of miserable, and like I said, it was hot. If they had the air conditioning on for a little while, and then they shut down the engines, and you know they were trying to conserve fuel, which I kind of get, but you know it just didn't make me any less crabby when I was sitting there for what was it, 5.5, 6 hours, something like that, in an airplane. Oh, and the big bonus is that they fed us. We each got a pack of those little tiny Biscoff cookies and a glass of water. And then they ran out of water. So it's pretty awesome. So anyway, but all good. Like I said, we made it. So I can't complain too much because there were many, many flights yesterday that just totally got canceled. So, all right. So again, just put a little Stampin' Seal on here and made a wide Z with the ribbon. So there you have it. And again, just stuck it on there using the Stampin' Seal. And I know it looks kind of yucky right now, although I don't know if you can see it, but Stampin' Seal you can see through here, but we're going to be covering it with some layers in just a second. So we're all good. So niece and nephew were flying in from Japan and we're supposed to land at JFK. Ugh, yeah. I'm sure they got hit with it too. I was kind of surprised they actually loaded us up. I thought in that scenario they probably were going to leave us on the ground, but I think they wanted to get the plane there. So they got us there. We just had to sit and wait forever. Eek. All right, Mossy Meadow ink, and I've got the little lined images from the Perfectly Pear stamp set. So we're going to stamp the leaves and the pear, and we're also going to stamp a little set of the flowers here. And you'll be happy to note that I did do several of these, or two of the flowers and one more of the pears and the leaves ahead of time, so you didn't have to sit and watch me do this like over and over again. So we'll do the old olive here. So again, Mossy Meadow is what I did the outlines in. And, oh, they were rerouted to Pennsylvania. Well, at least they got rerouted. Hopefully they landed without too much trouble there. I don't know what the weather was like in Pennsylvania. I just know it was stinky in New Jersey yesterday. So, and the New York area in general. So I'm sure it made a total mess of all kinds of flights. And like I said, when we got here, I know that lots of people did not. So I can't grumble too loudly, although I still grumbled a little. So, oh, I see why you don't fly. Yeah, it's like I said. By the end of it, there was near mutiny in the back end of the airplane. I will say that. It was a long day. We were in the airplane for I think 9.5 hours in total for a flight that was an hour and a half long. So there's that. All right, so I've got Darling Duckling, and my Darling Duckling ink pad is a new one, so it's really juicy. I don't know if you can see it. It kind of bubbles up when I put it on this photopolymer stamp. If you have trouble with it doing that, just grab a little sponge dauber and tap over the top of it, and that evens out the ink and gets rid of all those little bubbles for you. So that's my little trick for if your ink pad is overly inky like mine is, that's how I fix it. So, all right, so we're going to grab this and then we're going to stamp, hopefully get it centered better than I did the leaves. Not too bad. All right, then I got my old olive ink pad and I left it here for a reason, because I'm actually going to ink up just the edge. So that's how I just dropped my stamp. So that's how I got the two-tone look on here, is I just inked it up a second time. And obviously, as I'm laying it down, I want the right-hand side of my pear to be the one that is being inked. So I'm going to take a little old olive, and then I'm just going to tap it off to make sure I don't have any big dark glob of it. And then I'm just going to tap old olive ink with the sponge dauber or right over the top of the yellow, the Darling Duckling ink. And old olive is obviously darker, so I'm not too worried about the color contamination on there. If it was going the other way around, then I might worry and clean my stamp, but this way around, I didn't have to worry at all about it. And then just line it back up and stamp it right over the top again, and then you get like a two-tone look. So there you go. Hopefully you can see that on there. A little old olive and a little Darling Duckling. So there were a couple people that were kind of beside themselves. So I didn't get home until 6:30 this morning, 12 hours after they were supposed to. Yikes. And then I can't complain too much. We were only, I don't know, 6 or 7. I lost track. I can't even remember what time we were supposed to be home. We got home at about 11 o'clock last night. So I think we were supposed to be home at 4:30. 5 o'clock, something like that. All right, Darling Duckling, I inked up the flower centers, and the flowers are totally upside down, but stamped the flower centers on here. So this is that little grouping stamp from the stamp set, which fits perfectly over the little floral image. All right, now we're going to do a little die cutting. So I'm going to grab my pear die and my leaves die, and then the little flower die. Come on. Fingers work. There we go. And I'm just going to run these through my die cutting machine, so I'll be right back. I'll go off screen to do that. So I love these pears too, Mary. It's such a pretty set. And the designer paper is so pretty with this one. All right. Let's see if I can get these cut in one swing. And I did grab a little of the, what's it called? Post-it note tape. I don't know why my mind went blank on that one. A little Post-it note tape to hold my dies in place as they went through the die cutting machine. So we'll get these picked off my grungy looking cutting mat. Yikes. But I don't replace them very often because they lay down flatter. The more I chop on them, the flatter they lay down. So I usually just leave mine as it is. All right, and I did do some of these ahead of time. So I've got a little leaf that I stamped. I think I actually did that in Mossy Meadow, but that's okay. We did old olive for today. So got the extra flowers, the spare pear, and we'll go ahead and get this card stuck together. So I'm going to grab the pear that I'm going to put on the bottom, and we're just going to kind of tilt it to the left and put a few Stampin' Dimensionals on the back of it. DSP is Victorian. It's beautiful. I love it. I don't know, I guess Victorian, or I don't know, kind of, it's pretty. I don't know for sure if it's Victorian. I just know that it's very pretty. So, all right. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just putting dimensionals at the top and the bottom of this pear because I'm going to be putting it over the top of this ribbon. So I'm trying to hopefully not get too much of the ribbon stuck underneath the little pear here. Oh, although before I stick it down for good, I need to make sure I'm going to scoot it down just a hair because I want to make sure my sentiment isn't being covered up by leaves. There we go. That'll be good. All right, going to grab some Stampin' Dimensionals here for my leaves. And actually, I'm going to put just a little dab of liquid glue on the very bottom of this as well, just to hold it to the top of the pear so that it doesn't accidentally bend up as I'm putting it in the envelope. So peeling off the backing on my dimensionals. You could also put a little glue dot down there if you prefer that. Now I'm just going to make sure that I line this up where I want it to go before I put it down so that I don't have a glue boo-boo, which sometimes I still do. Anyway, all right, there we go. So we've got one pear down. Then we're going to take the second pear and we're going to stick that over here. I'm going to grab some more of my little half Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'll show you, this is how I cut mine. Just basically cut them right down the center of the dimensional row. And if you like whole dimensionals, you can certainly use whole dimensionals. I know people either love the idea or they hate it. So it's okay either way. You get to pick. So, oh, thanks. It is a beautiful, beautiful sweet. Definitely, Carol. All right, now I'm just going to take this little pear and we're going to stick it up here. I'm going to lightly put it down. And again, I'm going to just do a quick check. I'm going to scoot that down just a hair. Just wanted to check to make sure that my leaves were not going to be over the top of the sentiment again. All right, so that one looks a little better to me. Then I'm going to take a dimensional and put it on this leaf. This little leaf is going to be layered over the top of the other one, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a glue dot on the back of that one. Oh, grab my dimensionals. So here, and then put a little glue dot on the other one. There we go. And then again, just a little dab of the liquid glue to hold down the bottom of the stem. Hold it to the stamped pear that's already on my card. Flipping that over. And again, make sure that I have everything placed where I want it before I stick it down here so that I don't accidentally have a glue mistake. There we go. All right, now I'm going to grab some glue dots to put the little flowers on my card front. Got one here that we're going to stick up towards the top. I'm just going to tuck it in here around my leaves up on the top. And then one that I'm going to tuck in between the two little pears. So I'll do this. And I think that looks all right. And then the final one I'm going to stick down here on the lower part of this pear. And we're actually almost done with the card. So, all right, we'll stick this one, kind of lean it over to that side. Then the final thing that I put on the card front is these really pretty, they are called low profile sparkle dots. And again, they are part of this entire suite. So all of this stuff you can get online with one click of the button if you want to add all these things to your cart right now. Again, they're all online exclusives. So I'm going to add in one of the larger and one of the smaller. And I know that some people prefer to use 3, and if you want to use 3, you certainly can. I just felt like this card was starting to get kind of full of things, and so I did not want to add a third one in there because I thought it would just be a distraction. So if you wanted to put a third one on, you can, or you can count this as your grouping of 3, whatever it is you want to do. Up to you. All right, so that's it for the card front. The inside of the card is super quick and easy. This is just a little piece that I trimmed away from the designer series paper when I was cutting for my card fronts, and it measures about 3/4 of an inch wide, maybe a little less. I don't know. It's kind of usually whatever I have left over for designer series paper. So we're going to stick that on here, and it is actually longer than what I need it to be, and I do that intentionally so that I can put it down here and then kind of wiggle it around. Gives myself a little bit of extra wiggle room on that because I can always trim it down, but it is really hard to make it bigger. Yeah, the only way you can make it bigger is by trimming the rest of the basic white panel down. So I usually try to have it so that the designer paper has a little extra room in it. And if it doesn't, you can always trim down the basic white panel. All right, gonna flip this one over and try not to stick my card into anything that I've got inky over there, and put it together here in the inside. So that's the inside, pretty quick and easy. Folding it closed here, give a quick crease with the bone folder, and that is it for the card. So actually it's really quick and easy, and I love the two-tone pear look. So if you like that, it's really easy to do too. Just add a little bit of ink to your already stamped pear image. Like I said, if you're using colors that don't necessarily one's lighter, one's darker, you're going to use the lighter one second, whatever, or they don't really mix very well, like the green and the yellow they're pretty close. So if it's colors that are totally different and you are worried about contamination of your ink pad, you can always stamp the first color, clean the stamp, and then ink the stamp with the sponge dauber along the one side of it, and then stamp it again, and then you don't have to worry about any contamination of the ink pad. So it's up to you how you want to do it. But yeah, either way works. So like I said, hope that you like it. Glad to see that you all think this is pretty. Like I said, I love this pear set. Love that designer paper. Love the colors in it. Love the ribbon. Actually, way more than I thought I would. I mean, I thought it was pretty, but I really love the ribbon, especially when you put it on there with the pears and that designer paper, and then the little sparkly dots on it just are the perfect touch. So definitely just get the full suite. Don't just order pieces, because you'll be sad, and I don't want you to be sad. All right, let me know if you have any questions about this. I will definitely post all the details tomorrow on my blog post, and I'll link directly to it in the description of the video once it goes live around 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So until then, yeah, I guess you can come back and watch the replay. I'll plan to be live. Again, it's going to be a little early, around 1:30 on Friday. Sorry about that. I think next week we'll be back to the regular 2 o'clock time, but it just kind of depends on my daughter's schedule, and I don't think we have anything in the afternoons, but it's always hard to tell. So, all right, plan to be live around 1:30 on Friday, and then next week, tentatively around 2 o'clock, but keep an eye on my blog and on my Facebook page, and you'll be able to see all the updates and when I'm going live. So thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll chat with you all soon.